All right, guys, welcome to one more video for the Beautiful Medicine channel here in YouTube. So this is a very controversial theme that you're gonna to deal for your step one and step two. So why ego defenses can be so confusing. So names often don't match intuition. So for example, if you say reaction formation, what do you think? You're reacting to something? But I would say reaction opposition. And I will show you in the next few slides what do I mean? So, projection, I project myself, and displacement, you will remember by voodoo doll. So, let's move on. Displacement versus projection. Repair, you guys can note that some of those ego defenses, I'm gonna put them like versus one another because they're similar and in some way you can get confused about them. So this is the logic. Now that you know the logic behind this, let's start with displacement. So voodoo doll, what does that mean? Your boss is a very mean guy. And what are you gonna do? You cannot face him directly. So you're gonna you're gonna fight with your spouse. So it's like you're trying to be mean to somewhere else that is not as strong as that person. So you're kind of dealing with a voodoo doll because you're doing things to someone else in memory to that mean person. All right, so you're just like transferring your anger to someone else. That's easy. And projection, you're actually I project myself. So I want to cheat. So you must want to cheat. So I want to cheat you, my spouse, but I'm telling you are trying to cheat me. So you're projecting yourself as you are your spouse. And you know, this is the difference. So acting out versus passive aggression. Acting out, you felt it and you did it. For example, you something really bad happened to you, so you punch the wall or you do anything to any object. But of course, it's not a person. So this is not displacement. It's something you do to an object or a table or anything, like you're showing your anger. You're not doing it to any person that you think is not as strong as that mean guy. You're just acting like you're very, very angry and you're doing it to an object. You got that. So passive aggression is is pretty simple. When I'm not confronting you, I'm not directly beating you, but I'm beating you in some psychological way. So I've been waiting for this consultation for a long time in the line, and I'm very angry. So when you ask me request any additional tests, I won't do it. Or you know, you're not acting directly against that person, but indirectly. Got that? Let's move on. Intellectualization versus isolation of effect. So intellectualization, you have no emotions to something that happened, but you start speaking a lot of theory. For example, if somebody passes away and you start giving medical explanations, so the sodium potassium pump stopped working and he got a heart arrest, and you're talking to a family member in that way, so you are exploring a lot of uh, mechanism medical mechanism instead of dealing with the emotions. So no emotion but medical theory. But isolation of effect, you say, oh, he died at 3 p.m. and like you weren't talking about something very emotional. You're just not talking about the emotional part, but you're not also talking about medical theory. So uh, intellectualization, no emotion plus theory. Isolation of effect, no emotion, no theory. Repression versus suppression. Repression, you just forget without intention. So you had a trauma, like a woman got abused, sexual abuse in the street, and for some reason, she doesn't remember what happened. So it's unconsciously. And by suppression, you had to suppress your thoughts. So I did something really bad to someone else, and I know I did. I remember what it was, but I try not to think about it. So you try, you got your intention. You spend energy on that. So repression, you don't spend any energy. Your brain do it for you. So it's not something you do, you spend your effort. No, it just goes away. Okay? So reaction formation versus sublimation. Reaction formation, I would call it reaction opposition because you feel one thing. So I love you, but I say, oh, I hate that guy. You know, your first love, sometime in the past, you were like, oh, I hate you, Lila. You, but in fact, I love you. You're someone very special to me. So this is why I call reaction opposition, because you act like you show the opposite. In canalization, it's just an impulse, like you. All right, guys. So sorry. I'm sorry about that. So the idea is sublimation is canalization. So you transform your impulses into useful outlet. So let's say you're a very aggressive guy. You like aggression, fights, and all the stuff. And then you start practicing martial arts. So you're doing something good, but what is behind that? You're violent. So if you like blood, for example, or if you like anything that's bad, but you transform that in art or something that is useful, so it's sublime for people, that's sublimation. So it's kind of it's sort of something that it's opposite, but in a way that you're producing something good. You're not just showing the opposite way of what you think. Okay, so you're producing good, something good, even though primarily it was not good at all. Okay, so sorry about changing the slide, but I'm not gonna record and restart the clip. So let's move on. Fixation versus regression. Fixation, you got stuck uh, in a. I'm gonna read it for you and explain after that. So fixation means getting stuck in a behavioral pattern from an earlier developmental stage. The classic psychoanalytic idea is oral fixation. So that's why many examples involves the mouth. Thumb sucking, smoking, overeating, chewing pens, or nail biting. So if you're in a stressful situation, you do like those things. In other hand, regression is just you return to an earlier behavior. So like went backward, bedwetting, temper tantrums, clinginess, baby talk. So it's more like you're fixated on doing something with oral stuff, and the other is just uh, the kid stopped bedwetting, but for some reason, for example, if the parents got a separation, uh, he he or she regress in her behavior. That's it. So adults can do a lot of fixation when they're stressed, but kids when they regress, or even if you regress, you start peeing again or doing uh, actions like uh, behaviors that an adult um, is not supposed to do. I think, yeah, it's a little bit different, guys. So idealization versus splitting. Idealization, I only see the good part of you. So you are ideal, you are perfect. I don't see any of your mistakes. Maybe if you fell in love for somebody else, you can idealize her or him in a way that you don't see their defects. And splitting is it's not just the ideal part. You can see it as all good or all bad. The difference is because it's splitting, you also get the bad side. In identification, we can use the word identimeration because you like it, you copied it. So mannerisms. So if you like an artist, you start dressing like your favorite artist and doing all the mannerisms as they do. So fan, celebrity, student, mentor, you can start using your stethoscope in a manner that somebody else that you admire do. And rationalization, I didn't want it that way. I didn't want it anyway. So you didn't pass? No, I don't care. Like it isn't for me. It isn't for me or oh, I can find something else better. So, you know, it's not that uh, don't get confused by saying intellectualization, rationalization. So these are two words different, but somebody choose rationalization for the things that you think in a manner that it's not too bad for you. And intellectualization is just there is something that's very bad and you trying to explain in medical technical terms. Okay? So you protect your self-esteem with excuses. This is perfect. So rationalization, excuses, all right? In altruism, do good, feel better. So let's say you're depressed for some reason. It's not linked to the good thing you're doing. So let's suppose you have a factor that's very bad for the environment. You don't have to do things that are good for environment to be altruism. So if you're a bad person, or if you're not feeling good today, you can do something that is good for other people, for society. In denial, this is not happening. The doctors must be wrong. I got a cancer diagnosis and I cannot accept it. Okay? This is straightforward, and humor is also straightforward. Turn pain into a joke. So you are in the lab for anatomy and you start making jokes of the parts of the body that you see because it's a strong that emotion. So you're trying to avoid with humor. And I have here a automate memory table so you guys can pause the video and see. This is a summary of all this information. I think the hardest part is to separate each one of those topics, and there are some words that are similar, but they have different meanings, and it's not the meaning the first idea that you think, because it's somebody else that created those terms. So remember that first slide. So that's it, guys. If you like the video, subscribe to my channel, share with your friends, and see you in the next video.